welcome back to another video. My name is Jade and I help people reclaim back their power physically, mentally and spiritually. Now today we're going to be talking about diet, spiritual diets, and what I personally have found works best for me and what I truly believe is the most beneficial diet to be having whilst on the spiritual path and just in general. So this is just basically a metaphysical knowledge on how energy works within food and how it affects your body, because I find a lot of people in the new age or whatever tend to neglect the importance of food and diet whilst on the spiritual path, because it is an extremely important part of it and it should really be spoken about more, but I find most people are too scared to talk about it because they feel like it's a very touchy subject, which it is, because there's so many different opinions around it. So I'm going to do my best to put it in a very neutral, laid back way, and what I have found has massively helped me. So personally, I have been vegan for a good almost 7 years now. And yes, I used to eat meat and pretty much anything up until that point all my life. And I found personally what really made me transition to the vegan diet wasn't even for spiritual reasons initially. I was in a completely different consciousness back then when I first went vegan. So what made me go vegan was for ethical reasons. I watched a documentary and then I further watched basically what happened to the animals. And because I am very empathic and I am an empath, I instantly felt that strong connection to the animals' pain, to their suffering. And because I always had been an animal lover, I never knew what they went through. So once I actually saw it for myself, what happens in a slaughterhouse, it broke my heart and it literally shocked me to my core. And that was the motivation to then make me just completely stop eating all meat and all dairy products. Now, most people, if you look at like spiritual religions such as Buddhism and Hinduism, there is a lot of that going on anyway. So most Hindus and Buddhists are vegan or vegetarian, etc. Even in Christianity, ironically, it's been known and said by Gnostic texts about the Essenes. Can't get too much into that right now, but Jesus was basically a part of a group called the Essenes, and they were known to be vegetarian as well, as taboo as that sounds. But it's really important to note the actual meaning of veganism, because most people instantly hate that word, or they instantly have a stereotype come to them as soon as they hear the word vegan or vegetarian. But basically the true actual meaning of the word is causing the least harm possible to animals, okay? So you need to it's basically living a very empathic, compassionate lifestyle, showing respect and compassion to all beings and causing the least harm possible. So really understand that meaning, the least harm possible. But the thing that people neglect or cease to understand is in this matrix, in this game, you don't have any secrets, okay? So the divine and the not so divine, so let's just label them as angels, demons, to better understand. They know your thoughts, they know your frequency, they know your morality, they know exactly where your heart is, okay? So you can't cheat or lie in this game because your frequency doesn't lie. So if you're pretending to care about animals but then secretly making excuses and secretly eating meat, you'll get bad karma for that, okay? So what I truly have come to understand and see is there is karmic debt to eating and consuming animal flesh and their products most of the time. So you won't get karma, bad karmic debt, if you eat it in a survival instinct type of manner, okay, in a survival situation. You will get it if you are doing it needlessly, carelessly. So in most Western societies and, well, most of the world, Animals are, of course, butchered and killed and slaughtered in really, really horrific, cruel ways. They are sentient, they do have emotions, they do feel, okay, they have as much emotions as humans, okay? So it's really important to kind of make that connection and understand how energy works. So basically, when an animal, so for example, let's use a dairy cow, okay? So a dairy cow, she will be impregnated against her will, okay, for 5 years normally, again and again and again and again. And then her babies that she gives birth to, because remember, a dairy cow, any cow has to be pregnant to produce milk. So over again, she'll get her calf taken away from her. Now, very easy to understand that, of course, her motherly instincts will be so strong towards her own baby, like all animals, like humans. This will be a very heartbreaking process for her to endure. There's many things, footage of people showing and filming cows, you know, chasing after the babies when they get taken away. They cry. It's very common for them to cry and moan like for 2 weeks, sometimes longer straight, because they're mourning the loss of their cow, of their calf, sorry. So afterwards they then get hooked up to the milking machine and then they are milked. So the milk that should have been for the baby calf is now being stolen and used for human consumption. Now, it's extremely cruel to do this, especially when there's literally so many alternative milks. You've got oat milk, you've got rice milk, you've got coconut milk, you've got almond milk. Like any nut can make a milk, basically. Rice can make a milk, oats, hemp. Is endless. Like there are so many alternative milks now, and it's really we are the only species to drink the milk of a different animal species as adults. Like it's just really stupid when you like fully understand, and the health complications that come from consuming dairy. Like it's no coincidence that over 70% of people are lactose intolerant. Again, that's just a BS thing that they made up to basically, you know, the truth is you are not a baby cow, so you should not be consuming the milk of a cow, just like you wouldn't consume the milk of a dog. It's no difference. Like it's just the brainwashing that this business has put into people from a young age to make it normalized when it's not. You should only be drinking, you know, genuine milk from your mother when you're a baby, and then, you know, wean off it like a normal mammal, like a normal animal. There's really no need. And that's why it causes, that's why most products with dairy are very fattening, because it's basically, its main function is to make a baby cow, a baby calf, grow into a big, fat, large cow. So it's very fattening and it's not good for your body. You do not need it, okay? But when you understand, so that's the physical side of it, but when you understand the energy side of it, that cow has endured a lot of pain, suffering, and then once she's completely worn out, she then gets sent to the slaughterhouse to get killed in a very horrific way. I really strongly recommend watching Earthlings and Dominion, or The Land of Hope and Glory, to really see what happens to the animals and what they go through, okay? Because it is not pleasant, and you will see that they go through immense suffering, immense fear, immense pain, physical pain and emotional pain when they are killed. So this energy stays in the meat, and when you're eating this meat, that pain, that fear, that suffering goes into your auric body, that goes into you. So then your frequency, because you're constantly giving off a frequency, that frequency is then contaminated with that frequency of that animal. And this is why loads of yogis and Buddhists don't eat animals because it massively impairs and damages your own auric field. It lowers your aura and it lowers your frequency. So you will then manifest more negative things into your life. And I massively noticed this when I was a meat eater and then transitioned to a vegan, because since I gave up eating meat, my life massively changed. Massively. This is why I'm so confident in educating about this, because I know it works from my own experience, and it's so crazy how it works. So if you are basically eating an animal that's been abused, you will have a little bit of that energy within you, probably quite a lot, to be honest, depending how much you consume. And so you will manifest people that actually abuse you, that could be abusive towards you, and this can be mild or this can be severe. For me, I was in an abusive relationship for many, many years. And then as soon as I went vegan, it just gave me the strength. My frequency rose, and then I was able to leave that easily when I wasn't before. So your karma really does change, and you get much better karma, and you get rid of that debt. And these animals, especially ones that are in factory farms, which most of them are, they're also enslaved. So your freedom gets impaired as well. So these animals, if you look at pigs, for example, they are kept in these tiny crates, which they can't even turn around in all their life. Like, imagine that, all their life, until they are then slaughtered by a gas chamber, which is a horrific death if you see that, or getting stunned and then, you know, cut across the throat. And it's important to note that only 50% of the time the stun gun actually works. So a lot of the time they're still conscious when they're then hung upside down, they get their throat cut. Some of the times they're even still conscious when put in boiling hot water, which takes off the fur off the meat. And I've seen this with my own eyes, and it's horrific. So it's really important to know where your food comes from, because everything has data and information in it. So everything will have some sort of information, and it doesn't matter if you get organic or free range, because all of these animals end up at the slaughterhouse. They are then sent to the same slaughterhouses and still get killed in horrific ways. They will still have a very heavy karmic debt and really bad energy connected to them. So it's really important to understand where your food comes from and know that it does have an effect on your life. It does have an effect on your energy. Of course it does. And when you look at the difference between meats and then say vegetables and fruit, I mean, fruit is basically grown by sunlight. So they will have a way more higher vibrational frequency to them, because they have that direct sunlight that has basically been put inside them. When you're eating meat, you're cutting that out because it's filtered down, because you're basically getting the energy from the plants that the animals have eaten, and then it's filtered through them into you. So it's tainted massively. So you're much better off going to the source and eating directly from the source. But it's what I've noticed through the years is I see some vegans, especially the spiritual vegans, sometimes go a bit too extreme. They may push themselves, their physical bodies a bit too much, and restricts themselves to being purely raw vegans, etc. And I find you have to really live in the right climate to have a fully raw vegan diet. I think it's really important to live in a tropical climate. For me, I live in the UK, and of course we don't get much exotic fruit in abundance, and the fruit and veg we do get isn't always that nice, and it isn't always in season, etc. So it can be quite difficult to have a fully raw vegan diet here. Most of the time, I personally have raw till 4. I'll normally have a smoothie, but I don't strictly live by that. But I just find I digest fruits in the morning much better. And then I have my more heavy, sort of starchy foods, for example, rice or potatoes or noodles at night with veg and maybe tofu, etc. So, but I found when I travelled around Bali and Thailand for a good 3-4 months, I could have easily lived a raw vegan diet, because the climate was so hot, it was so humid. They have an abundance of beautiful fruit that's very filling, very satisfying. Durian, it's my absolute favourite, jackfruit, etc. So I could have easily, I basically was majority raw there, because it's the right climate for it. So you have to find out what works best for you, and not undereat, especially loads of people, especially with the raw spiritual community vegans, they massively undereat and feel like they have to just live off juice and lettuce and I feel like you have to be very grounded with your diet at the same time, otherwise you can get a bit too floaty, you can get a bit too high. You need to know how to ground yourself, and eating very starchy food, root vegetables, etc. is very good at keeping you grounded. And what I personally follow is the 80-20 diet. So I will eat clean probably about 80% of the time, and then 20% I will still treat myself and have some vegan chocolate, coffee now and then, any vegan pizza, burgers, because I find the more clean you eat, you kind of can set yourself up for disaster if you then have to be somewhere or travel to a country where you can't get that sort of high quality clean food. You're much more prone to then getting sick if you then have something that's more unhealthy, because your body is so used to eating really clean. And I find, like, many raw vegan people do tell this to people. They say, be warned and be careful once you go raw vegan. If you try to then treat yourself to, like, say, a vegan burger now and then, it may make you sick or feel really bad. So again, you have to know your environment and work around things. And I feel most people don't have this sort of luxury of predominantly living a raw vegan lifestyle. Another thing I see, an argument that many people make against veganism, is they struggle or they start to get health problems whilst on the vegan diet. And I think there is a huge amount of misinformation around this. And then I've seen so many vegans, ex-vegans, then jump to like the complete opposite and go on like full-on carnivore diet. And this is because what I have noticed and experienced myself is because you have certain gut issues. Because if you can't digest fruit and veg, then there's something wrong with your gut, because most humans can. And if a human can thrive on the vegan diet and you can't, then that is a sure sign that there's some sort of gut condition that you need to address and you need to heal. And I had this problem because I was thriving probably for a good 4 years as a vegan. I was very strong in the gym. I was the most healthy I'd ever been in my life. And then I went traveling and I got food poisoning, and I also had the rabies jab before I went traveling, which made me sick as well, as I was going to volunteer looking after dogs, and I had to have that jab otherwise we weren't allowed. So I think it was a combination of that, because once I had that jab, and then I got really bad food poisoning in Thailand, that then developed into a gut condition called SIBO. And I was also very stressed, because stress is a huge catalyst to illness, because it massively lowers your immune system. So then you're not able to fight off certain things, and then that can manifest into sickness. So a whole combination of those things really impaired my health, and then my health went massively downhill. And then the SIBO then led to the nutrient deficiencies, as it blocks your body being able to absorb nutrients from plants massively and from loads of things. So that then led me to become anemic, vitamin D deficient, etc. And I just manifested all these awful things because I didn't know I had this gut condition. So once I actually done a test and I realized, oh shit, I have quite a severe SIBO issue, I then started to heal and do the right things in order to heal it. So you have to be honest with yourself and always look for a way to heal. Don't just completely blame the vegan diet, the plants, the fruit, because most of the time it is not that. It is your body having an issue with digesting something. And most illness as well can be caused from energetic reasons. So I really highly suggest looking more into that. So for example, like I said, anger and stress. Like anger impairs your liver. Stress massively can cause sickness. Some people believe that all sickness is from energetic reasons. So don't just be so quick to blame your diet, and look what else is going on in your life at that time. So have you gone through a breakup? Are you going through a lot of stress at work, etc. Have you been betrayed by someone? Because betrayal can massively impair your digestive system as well. Because when I was thriving as a vegan, I was very happy, I was very content, I didn't have too much stress going on. But as soon as I started to go through a very stressful time in my life, my health deteriorated hugely. So it's really important to know these things, and also certain negative entities can make you sick as well, as I've explained in my other videos on demonology, etc. There's so many things that can make you ill, and it's not always food. So really, you have to have such crystal clear discernment in knowing these things and trying to pinpoint the exact reason. So as a vegan, it's very important to, if you are having any health problems as a vegan, number one thing I would suggest is get a gut test, okay? So test for SIBO, test for any sort of IBS issues, etc., etc., because that is normally the number one thing that is causing the problem. Another thing is obviously look at your life. Are you going through some sort of stress? So practice calming down and being holistic, and etc., etc. And get a blood test. Get a blood test and see, because a huge thing that I didn't know for a long time was I was extremely deficient in vitamin D. You should be over, I think, the number 50, and I was on 8. And that caused extreme fatigue and depression. And all I had to do was have a vitamin D spray, and then my fatigue massively got better by like 50% within probably 2 weeks. So sometimes it can be such a simple thing, and then you just, you know, because if you are just eating meat, one, you're adding to your karma massively. 2, you are masking symptoms, because a lot of people will be like, oh, the carnivore diet healed me, etc., but they don't realize it's only because that is slightly easier to digest than certain plant foods. So you're literally, it's like a band-aid. All you're doing is putting a band-aid on a health condition, which in time will get worse and worse and worse, because meat will cause other things. It's very carcinogenic, it's acidic, so it's linked to many cancers, for example. Constipation, many people will have extreme constipation on that diet because there's no fiber. That's another thing to point out. If you have certain gut sensitivities, don't have so much fiber whilst on the vegan diet. I find, for me personally, I mainly have a lot of bananas, oats are amazing, rice, potatoes. Stick to simple foods and eat more simply, because then it's easier for your gut to digest. I don't have beans, I don't have legumes, I don't have any of that, and I keep my fats and proteins very light, because fat and protein, even from vegan sources, is very heavy. It's very difficult to digest. So keep light on them. Do high carb, more simple foods, fruits, all that sort of stuff. Have enough water, and trust me, your gut will really adapt to that. And lay off the onions, any sort of trigger foods. It can be tedious. You just got to really know your body and take notice of things that trigger it or make you feel a bit crappy. Stay away from gluten. That's another thing I keep away from, because again, that's very difficult for your stomach, for your gut to digest. So there's many things, but all I can say is the most important thing on this spiritual path is showing compassion and empathy to animals, because if you want to live on the vibration of love, because truly that's what enlightenment is all about, is having that clarity and truly becoming of a vibration of love, you need to understand what love actually means. And love means sacrifice, self-sacrifice, but I don't mean in the way that you harm yourself. I mean in the way that you do things for the planet, you do things for other people and animals without having any expectations. That is true self-sacrifice and love. You will have compassion for all beings. And what does compassion mean? That means empathy. So when you really start to open your third eye and have that discernment, you will connect to many life forms. You'll connect to all life forms, and you'll know how emotional they are. You do not want to be having their fear. You do not want to be consuming their fear. But at the same time, be practical about it. If you have an absolute severe gut condition and you're transitioning or you're healing or whatever, and for whatever reason you must have a tiny bit of fish now and then, that's fine. But just do it in an ethical way. Still keep your morals, okay? And this can be, you know, just be honest with yourself and don't just use it as an excuse to then be like, oh, well, I just have to be a carnivore and just eat all the animals. Do a complete 180. It's like, no, just find out the trigger foods. Just have that self-analysis. Be gentle with yourself, but don't completely throw all your morals out the window. So for me personally, I find the vegan diet is the most optimal diet, but you must keep yourself grounded, you must keep yourself healthy, you must eat enough. Please don't just starve. I am quite against doing extreme fasts, etc. I feel like personally you need to be on a really high vibration and be in the right environment to undertake like an extreme fast that's like a month or so longer, or water fasting, etc. I will be bringing out a chakra cleanse program very soon, which will be a week-long chakra cleanse, which basically I've designed a smoothie to clear and align each chakra to match the colors of each chakra. So a red one, an orange one, a yellow, a green, blue, indigo, violet. So, but this is not a starvation diet. This is basically a very gentle cleanse that gives you enough calories to keep you going each day. I love smoothies. I find smoothies, I normally have one every single day. I think they're incredible and they're very gentle on the gut as well. So that should be ready probably beginning of February, and I will do another video further explaining about chakras and why it's important to have balanced chakras and why color therapy is so efficient and so good at helping it, and certain foods, and because every color and every food has its own vibration. So I will be doing another video on that in the future. The chakra cleanse will be ready beginning of February. I really highly suggest watching the following documentaries, and that is Dominion, that's Earthlings, Land of Hope and Glory, also What the Health, The Game Changers, Cowspiracy. Because another thing that people forget about veganism is you're not just helping animals, you're helping humans. Because all the food that is grown to feed cows comes from third world countries, and so much food is wasted feeding cattle, etc., when all that food that is grown for them could be fed to humans that are literally starving, okay? Around 8,000 African black children die every day from starvation, and they wouldn't if everyone was vegan, because the foods they grow could be fed to them. Because most of it is corn. Most Western cattle that's factory farmed is fed corn. So that would be alleviated. You can learn all these facts and figures in Cowspiracy. The same goes for water, the same goes for land waste, the same goes for wild animals. Many wild animals are killed because of deforestation, etc. It's extensive, so it's not just the animal's life that you're getting the karma from, you're also getting the karma from just the complete damage it does to the planet as a whole. And for people who says, well, what about plants? Plants feel pain too. One, they don't. They may have consciousness, but they do not have a nervous system, so they do not feel physical pain like animals and like we do. They are meant to be eaten. That's why they just stay in one place. They can't run away because they are not a prey animal. And anyway, even if you don't believe that, you're still causing way more damage and plant deaths by eating a meat diet because of all the plants that need to be killed and grown to feed the animals. So that's a void excuse as well. So please do the research. It will massively help you. I can't stress enough how massively it's helped me. And if you are having health problems, then get some tests, get a blood test, understand it's your gut, trust me, because I've been through it. I'm still recovering my gut, but I'm still vegan, and I've got rid of my anemia, I've got rid of many health deficiencies, many health issues I've had since getting ill. and I alleviated many when I first went vegan, such as my asthma massively improved and simple things like that. So you can be vegan, trust me. You may have to just go through some cleanses and healing first. Check out Medical Medium as well. He has lots of information about really severe illnesses and how to heal them holistically with his protocols, and they 100% do work. I healed my tinnitus, for example, using one of his protocols. I hope this video helps you. I hope it inspires you. Obviously, it's Veganuary at the minute, being January, and many people have signed up to be vegan. So just give it a go if you've never given it a go before. Just be gentle. If you want me to do more videos on veganism in general, etc., let me know in the comments below. And much luck to you. So lots of love, lots of light. Hymns up.